Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. Dear viewers everywhere, welcome to a new episode under the theme of Do our teachers teach effectively, or can we teach effectively? Under this topic, we discussed some topics. One of them was about the interactive class, because it's a quality of good teaching, the level of interactivity. The second one that we discussed earlier was about distributive focus. A third quality that we discussed was about the variety of teaching methods and techniques that we need to use in our classroom. In fact, we didn't complete this, and I remembered that some techniques, and if I were you, I would prepare a diary, and every time you knew about a new technique or a new strategy, you can add it to the list, because you cannot use all of them together. So you should add it the more you can. And there are some websites that on the internet, they are very beneficial. One of them is called Teacher TV. Teacher TV. There's lots of interactive lessons. You can see the lesson, observe it, and you can see the techniques that are used by teachers. And I would like to refer your attention to and draw it to the, even you can use a technique that's used in a math lesson or a science lesson, and you can use the same technique in your classroom in teaching, for example, any Islamic subject. You can make some modification, you can keep it as is, but it works very well, because these are common techniques. Like the car, you can use it in anything, and you can go to the farm, you can go to a factory, you can go to any place, but it is still the same car. So it is a tool that you can use. One of the things that I remembered about this is the questions techniques. There are many questions that have different techniques. One technique is you ask wrong questions. Sounds very negative, but this is something that makes students think deeply. Yes, and particularly kids like these questions. One common example that I'm quite sure that you can come up with other examples is a question about, and I want you to answer it. If Hajj falls in the month of Ramadan, what is your priority? To fast or to make Hajj? Can I get an answer? Yes, sister?
Hajj can never fall in the month of Ramadan.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. This is a wrong question. An example of a wrong question. It needs some people to think. The answer first, they make a mistake, and then they realize that because Hajj never falls in the month of Ramadan. So these types of questions would make the students think. So this kind of technique is called wrong questions. For example, another question similar to this, until you come up with other questions like this. When a woman divorces her husband, how much dowry, or how much money she gets from him? The answer is, go ahead and, yes, please.
The woman cannot divorce.
Yes, the answer is a woman does not divorce a husband. The woman asks for a divorce. This is another wrong question. Can you come up with questions like this? Yeah, you know that they are scientifically based on the subject matter. They're not for fun. They are reviewing some things in the fiqh issues, right? Okay, so can you come up with a question like this? We want to reinforce this, okay? Please speak.
For the small children, we can say that, was the Prophet ﷺ right-handed or left-handed?
What was the Prophet ﷺ?
He couldn't write.
He was right-handed all the time, okay.
He couldn't write.
He couldn't write, oh, right-handed and writing.
Yeah.
So you'd better specify this. This is very good. One, I learned it from others very recently. They said that when the Prophet ﷺ yawned, did he put his left hand or his right hand when he's yawning? Question for you. Yes? Smart questions, okay? The answer was the Prophet ﷺ didn't yawn, because yawning is caused by the shaitan, and the Prophet ﷺ already conquered his shaitan by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these are some of the questions that are very interesting. They fall under the technique of wrong questions, okay? And I think you can come up with many questions like this, and the students love this. And you tell them to go and ask your father, go and ask your mother, and it becomes part of their life. Yeah? So they live the subject matter, or they live the topic that they had been taught. Okay, another type of technique in questions is called funny questions. Funny. Al-fil, the elephant, is smaller than the cow. Right? Yes, Surah Al-Fil is smaller than Surah Al-Baqarah. Right? Surah Al-Fil, Surah of the elephant, is smaller than Surah the cow, right? And the same thing would apply that. The fil is smaller than the ants, right? Surah Al-Fil is smaller than the ants. So Al-Fil is smaller than ants. And children like these things, and it helps them at least to remember the size of the surahs and something like this. These are some of the techniques that can be added to. As I said, that nobody can remember all of them. I could have brought lists of these, but I'd like you to do your homework. You can go to the internet. So Sheikh Google can help you a lot by giving you the opportunity to see the teaching styles, teaching strategies that are used by other teachers. Very, very simple, very beneficial. And it would make you love your teaching profession much, much, much more than what you're doing now. And it will make your even students very interested in your lesson. Now we are moving to a new one. We mentioned three qualities of good teaching, and a fourth one can be a good balance between teamwork and independent work. Again, we said that the teacher, when he enters the class or she enters the class, she should have her brain divided into three sections. We mentioned that it is knowledge, concepts, and skills. Now also we need to redesign it. Yes, from another part of the brain, you divide it into two: teamwork and independent work, all the time. I mentioned lots of things about this yesterday, and I mentioned example that I love to repeat in many places, which is that a manager, team manager, who worked in a computer company, and he wanted to hire a person to join his team. And many people applied for the job. Many engineers applied for the job, and he selected a basketball player. I mentioned this example yesterday, if you remember. And everybody was really skeptical of his decision, and they asked him, why did he do that? He said that one of our problems in our job is to produce a good team to work together. He said that this person, I can take him and I can teach him what I want from him in 6 months, but I cannot teach him to work in a team in 6 months. But this one already mastered working in a team, playing in a team, so he will save me a lot of time. And people understood the rationale behind this. It was quite obvious that preparing new generations who will produce products in the future, particularly in a country like yours, in the top of countries in computers. So they need how to know to work together. So we provide them with this quality of people. It takes a lot of training. So it begins as early as possible to train them to work in groups, to work collaboratively, to produce things. At the same time, I hope you got the rationale behind the example. So it's teamwork. We need to teach them how to work in team, how to organize themselves, how to collaborate to produce something that's meaningful. Okay. At the same time, we need them to work independently, to teach them how to work independently, because also exaggerating teamwork would make them reliant on others, would make them, yeah, we cannot produce this, I cannot produce this by myself. I all the time need people to support me. And I think we talked in the Seerah, one of the most important concepts is what the teamwork, the jama'ah, the collectiveness or the congregation, as the sister mentioned here. At the same time, when we teach them how to do things by themselves independently, to answer questions by themselves, to do projects by themselves, to come and do dual presentations or group presentation and individual presentation. So all these activities that would help students, inshallah, to learn more and to make the class more vivid. This is exactly what we want from the students. The teacher here needs to make a balance. A balance that all the time does not mean that it is 50-50. It is not 50-50 at all. The balance is whatever the task or the exercise or the activity you make required, so you focus on it. Okay, and when you going back again to the lesson plan, you need to go to your lesson plan and design somewhere in your lesson plan, say that independent activities and group activities. So you design some tasks to be done by the students independently and others that to be done collaboratively. We'll take a break. Don't go away. Come back after the break. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Hush, little baby, breathing so calm.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome back after the break. We are going to continue our topic, which is a good balance between individual work and teamwork. Let me go back a little bit to describe the teamwork. Out of experience, we've seen teachers just love to see that children are divided into groups. So you find them sitting 4 here, 2 here. But the task itself does not require from them to work collaboratively. You would find that they are, for example, a teacher would give 4 papers, the same papers, to 4 students. This is not a teamwork. Teamwork would have 1 paper and all of them should work on it. You see what I'm saying? So it's one work, and the teacher would help them or leave the students themselves to decide who would be the leader of the team, who would be the presenter from the team, who would be the timekeeper of the team. So either you can give some guidelines and leave the students to do the arrangement by themselves and they select among themselves, and you even can observe them and see that how the students, the dynamics between the students, because the type of leadership he will pop up immediately. You will see that he's a leader. You give them opportunities to express themselves, and you give them a task that cannot be done really by one person. In other words, the nature of teaching, you teach all the time 1 step ahead. When you teach, when you ask students questions, you don't ask them questions on their level. Because if it is on their level, they are not learning anything. If it is 1 step above their level, they are learning this. This is the learning. So at the end of the lesson, so they jumped from here to this. So 1 step ahead. In tasks like this, in group work here, so you give them 2 steps ahead. So it's more challenge than the normal challenge that you do in any question. You see what I'm saying? Because it should become difficult for them to answer. Nobody can answer. So one of them would say something, the other would add another thing, like the questions that we are adding now. Each one of you adds his own experience to come up with plenty of examples. You see what I'm saying? So, for example, we asked, what are the techniques or the methods of teaching that you use in your class? Each one added something. We came up with a list. So it cannot be done by one person easily. So again, so you have to remember this. It's 2 steps ahead of their level. Okay. Even in advanced classrooms, like, in high grades, secondary particularly, yes, you need to give them some tasks that even may require, some of them would go to the library to get an answer. Some of them would use reference books. So you have to do this. You give them the task, you have to answer it. You can tell them, go anywhere, go to any teacher, do anything to give me the answer of these questions or this problem, right? So you are training them to solve problems. This is a key word that we need to focus on as teachers. Problem solvers. And I mentioned that this is the job of the engineers. All the time they solve problems. And I think, don't mention this to doctors, yes. I taught a class, all of them were doctors and engineers. And from the first day, I saw that the engineers are doing much better than doctors. Don't tell Dr. Zakir Naik about this. Okay, I hope he doesn't watch this on the TV. Yeah, anyway, doctors, most of the time, they do cut and paste. Yes, engineers don't do that. Yeah, engineers solve problems. So they performed very well. And then there was a doctor, one of them, all of them were my friends. And one of them, one time, every day I asked him, he did not answer the question. He did not answer the question. And one day I asked him, he answered all the questions. I said, what happened? He said that I decided, okay, to make a new tape recorder. I listened to your lessons. I read the vocabulary on every page, right? I recorded them on the tape, and I listen to the tape every time I commute, and it becomes easy for me to remember the words. I said, oh, now you did well because you started thinking like an engineer. So we want you to develop the students to be an engineer, problem solvers. And this can be done by group work. And again, group work, and it should have collaborative work. They should work collaboratively to come up with the answer. And then one of them would come up here and would present the results of things. At the same time, you can do the same thing, but independently. You give a problem and you ask each one to solve it independently. And this again teaches them how to work independently, because this quality, we need it for every human being to know how to work independently and how to work collaboratively. Now I did my part. Now I need you to do your part. Going back to Islamic subject. So you are going to tell me, okay, the subject is seerah or the subject is fiqh. By the way, fiqh questions, yes, are usually, yes, can fall into this, because lots of things that you considered when you answer a fiqh question. Got the idea? Yes, we got an answer now. Alhamdulillah, good. Don't be distracted, all of you, because I want you to focus on, okay.
If my subject would be Hadith.
Hadith, tell me what grade, approximate grade?
Grade 7.
Grade 7?
I would ask them.
Are you a teacher of grade 7?
Yes.
Yeah, all the time we relate to the thing that we know. When you know something well, you can relate to it very well. And this, we will explain it later when you prepare for the lesson and you begin with reviewing something that they have studied before. Relating to something that they know. This is exactly what she's doing. Okay.
I would divide the class into 3 to 4 groups.
Depending on the number?
Depending upon the number.
Give me an accurate number.
18.
Close. How many in each group?
4 people.
I don't need really an answer, but I need you to think of this. Sometimes when we say group work and we put 6 people together, you find some people are not interacting because they are far from each other. This is an example here. Yes, 2, 2, 2. It becomes difficult for them to communicate. But if I say 4, those 2 can reverse their sitting and can face the other. It becomes easier. You have to consider this when you design a task. Yes. Okay, good.
I'll pick up some hadiths and tell them to prepare a model that would explain the hadith.
Oh, the best group that would explain the hadith.
Yes.
Okay, good. Good. So now the task is, who is the best group, right, to explain the hadith? What do you expect them to do?
I expect them to prepare a model, a project work kind of, where they would prepare something, present it, and which would help them to explain that hadith.
Okay, the 2 are working. Do you think that the way that if they work differently, they can come up with different results? Tell me how. We are trying to make things clear for everyone, okay? Such a task, okay, it has some challenges, okay. Who can explain it? Do you think that if this hadith is, or this task is given as an independent work, would it be better than collective? Think of it. If we give the same task to students to work independently, now I want each of you, here's the hadith, I want each of you to explain it to me in a good way. Okay, think of it, work on it. Do you think that this task would go well with group work or independent work? But I think I'm tending that I think if it is independent, it may be better, because yes, one student is perhaps more eloquent than other students, so who would be able to present his viewpoints better. So if it happens that this student falls into group A or group B, right, he will impact the group, right, because they go ahead and do the task because they know him. There's no much collaboration here. Do you see my point? Okay. I remember an example that happened in one of the classes, that they were answering, the teacher gave them a list of words, and it says that now you have a task to find these words in the dictionary very quickly. So there was competition between them. Okay. So they were working, yes, collaboratively to, yeah. And here, after they finished, I asked the groups, tell me the techniques that you used to come up with the answer quickly. So each group told me the technique that they used. One group, yes, they had one word and they worked on the work together, right? And the other group, they divided the word between them. You are going to do word number 1 and 2, I'm going to do work. So they distributed the work. So here there was a chance for them to use a technique. And we discovered that at the end, okay, if you're branching, right, you can get the answer quicker than if you are linear. So we got up this lesson from what they have done. And I think you can apply this technique in many things. Checking up the meaning of, or the location of the ayah, or the hadith. Where can you find this hadith? Is this hadith correct or incorrect? You give them a list of them to tell you the answer, and you can give them some resources to find them in them. You see what I'm saying? So you can apply it to many subjects, the same technique. Now, another one would tell me some, the name of the subject and the activity that he thinks that would fit into a group activity or individual. Yes? Good? Remember, we have 2 minutes. We need at
least to cover.
In
our research department, we have 6 to 7 or 8 brothers. I would choose the issue of fiqh. 22 years of age. Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Good. So the level is university. We have 8 students.
I give them a topic on fiqh. Surah Fatiha to be recited behind an imam or not.
Okay, Surah Al-Fatiha to be recited behind an imam or not.
And I would divide the group into 4. 2 in each group.
Okay.
First group would be given the task of collecting all the hadith and classify into Sahih and Daif from both the sides of arguments.
Okay.
Then the second group will collect the opinion of those scholars who say it should be recited.
Okay.
The third group will find out the opinions of those scholars who say it is not supposed to be recited.
Okay.
And the fourth group will get the other opinions. In certain rakat, it should be recited. In certain rakat, it should not be.
Okay. I like the level of challenge in this. It matches the level of the students. It's good. And we have to stop here. Inshallah, we'll come back in a next episode to continue our talk about the same topic. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Hush, little baby, pure and small, He created you, He created us all. Hush, little baby, don't you fear, we're never alone when Allah's so near. Hush, little baby, breathing so calm, He'll protect us all and keep us from harm. Hush, little baby, still and serene, you are a Muslim, Islam's your deen. Hush, little baby, pure and small.